Hello everybody, how's it going? Today I have a very special video because this week from the 18th to the 24th of September is Banned Books Week. And what it is an annual celebration that aims to raise awareness about banned books, about books that have been challenged. And today I'm going to explain what it is, some recommendations of banned books, and also go over a little bit of the history of censorship. Because I think it is a very important topic that more people should be aware of because it affects everybody. And it relates to things like freedom of speech, like freedom of press, of literature, and also like a lot of ways it's threatened. So without further ado, let's go into the video, starting with the history of censorship, the history of book banning and burning, and then we'll go into some other stuff. So let's get on to the video. Unfortunately, censorship has always been a part of human history. Ever since humans started writing, people have been against ideas that they don't like and they don't necessarily approve of, and they began campaigns to censor them, to burn those works of literature, and basically destroy in ways that limit freedom of speech, freedom of press, and that is what I want to focus on today. Since the beginning, many people have been trying to suppress opposing ideas, but there have been many cases throughout history where this has been done systematically and on a large scale, starting with one of the most potent examples, which began with the arrival of Christianity in Rome. Also, a lot of this information comes from the book The Darkening Age by Catherine Nixie, which tells the story about how a lot of the classical art and literature from before Christianity's arrival was persecuted, destroyed, and also suppressed for many years. And today I'm going to tell a little bit of that story, but also I'll make a full video in the future that focuses on that. In the book, Nixie tells the story of how in the classical Greece and Rome, a lot of different faiths and cultures and ideologies coexisted, and after the Emperor Constantine rose to power, he started passing laws that actively persecuted all people he denominated as pagan. So all of the people who didn't follow Christianity were persecuted and suppressed in the beginning, a lot of their works were censored and later burned. At the same time, many of their statues, temples, and all of the things they worship were destroyed, and the laws became more and more strict until in the end there was nothing left. According to the book, 99% of all the Latin literature was destroyed, and these religious reasons for censorship are something we're going to see echoes of when we see all the other events in history where people have been censoring books and other works. Censorship for religious reasons became a constant throughout history, where many of the works that went against the church doctrine were burned or destroyed, and their authors were imprisoned or even killed. Later on in the 16th century, the Catholic Church established the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, which is basically a list of books that were forbidden because they went against church doctrine or for other religious reasons. Between these books, you can find the works of prominent Enlightenment philosophers such as Immanuel Kant, Voltaire, René Descartes, and Baruch Spinoza, revolutionary scientific works such as the heliocentric model of Nicolaus Copernicus, and the works of Galileo Galilei. The index was only formally abolished in 1966, and it even contains books such as The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir and the works of Jean-Paul Sartre. Banning and forbidding books for religious and ideological reasons are a common theme, and luckily the church doesn't have as much power today as it had before, but we're going to see a lot of these same topics coming up over and over again. Now that we have seen how religion has influenced censorship, we're going to look at some more recent examples of this in action. The United States is a country that prides itself on its freedom of speech and expression. However, this has not always been the case. As we will see right now, there have been many cases where this has been suppressed and laws have been passed that limit the publication of certain books and content. The Comstock Act of 1873 was a law that made it illegal to, quote, send obscene, lewd, or lascivious, immoral, or indecent publications through the mail. The law also made it a misdemeanor for anybody to sell, give away, or possess an obscene book, pamphlet, picture, drawing, or advertisement. However, these laws affected primarily topics like birth control, even if they were prescribed by a doctor, and even affected feminist causes, and as we have seen and will continue to be seeing, it also targets sexuality, even if it's told by an educational perspective. Of course, some of the most important examples related to book censorship and burning have to do with dictatorships. One example is during Nazi Germany, when the authorities went door to door looking for books that contradicted their ideology, then throwing them into large piles and setting them on fire. We have seen this in countless examples, and it is a way that dictators ensure their power by getting rid of ideas that they are afraid of or that they think is a threat to their empire. In other examples, such as Pinochet's Chile and other dictatorships in South America, they get rid of ideas and political enemies they perceived as threats. And even today, in many authoritarian Muslim countries, they get rid of ideas that they consider heretical or contradictory to Islam, thus ensuring that the religious forces stay in power. Okay, so now that we have gone over the history of book censorship, it is important to remember these root causes and also focus on why it is important to read banned books and any kind of work that people try to suppress or censor. primarily because it is a way to stand up to authoritarian ideologies and forces that try to suppress freedom of speech and other kinds of freedoms that we have. Especially, there are two articles in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that deal with this topic, starting with number 19, which is the freedom of opinion and expression, and it says that this right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. And also there is 26, which deals with education, and it says that education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. So I believe that the flow of ideas is essential to keeping a free society, and that it is important to stand up to any force that tries to take away that freedom. And I think that banning books never leads to anything good, and instead it just sets a dangerous precedent for future generations. If you don't like a book, it is just as easy to grab another book and read that one, but you don't have to burn the entire library or tell other people what not to read. Now, many people think that book banning and burning is a thing of the past, right? But I will give some examples of how laws are being passed in the United States and how they relate to book censorship. Today, many books are being challenged and removed from bookshelves in states such as Utah or Oklahoma, with laws that are being passed, including in public schools. Some of the most common themes included in these books and novels that are being removed include things like the experiences of LGBTQ people or people of color, things that deal with racism and other topics, and also things like strong language, violence, sexuality. And a lot of angry parents do this under the pretense of we have to protect the children, but instead it just causes a mass censorship movement that we have to stop in the United States. It is important to remember the long history of everything I talked about with censorship in order to educate people and also let people know that it is not the best option to remove this, especially from public schools, public libraries, and also educate others and realize that censorship is something, part of something bigger that is going on with the whole political war that's going on in the United States. So now to finish off the video, I'm going to give some example of banned books that I think everybody should read this week, starting with the one I'm reading right now, which is The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. And I think this is a very important book, and I was inspired to read it after last month's tragedy where the author Rushdie was stabbed. And it is part of the controversy that happened since the book was published, where people in the Islamic world didn't like it, and a lot of people have been wanted to kill him because of the content of the book. And it is a prime example of, book banning that happens today. And also another recommendation has to do with this one, which is Mouse, which is one of the latest books to be banned in the United States and several libraries. And it deals with the Holocaust in a very creative way. And I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic comic book. And we have another comic book in the list. So don't worry, we're going to have a lot of different books. Also, we got The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I read this one this year, and I thought it was a fantastic book. It deals with topics of authoritarianism, feminism, and I really enjoyed it. It's also a very strong critique of religion that I think a lot of people will enjoy, and also a TV show that is based on this book. And also, there's the classic 1984 by George Orwell. Very classic banned book from a lot of sides. But it is a great, fantastic work that deals with the dangers of authoritarianism and all those kind of topics. So I really recommend this book too, one of my favorites. And finally, my favorite one, which is Persepolis. And this book is also fantastic. It is another comic. It is beautiful. It has a lot of lessons, and it deals with the Iranian Revolution, and it is based on a true story. So those are my recommendations for Banned Books Week. And yeah, I think that'd be everything for today. So if you really like this video, please share it and raise awareness about banned books, about the dangers of censorship, the reasons why we should protect freedom of speech, freedom of publication. And yeah, so I guess that will be everything for today. So happy reading, everybody, and I'll see you next time.